if I were to give some advice to any AniTubers watching this right now, or anyone in our community watching this right now who is interested in growing their own channel and is interested in making this a job and taking advantage of the space between 100,000 and 1 million subscribers, which I think there's a massive gap of content creators that just don't exist in that space at the moment. It's that you shouldn't. When we talked on the Trash Taste podcast, where we talked about the circle jerking aspects, right? And a lot of people rightly took issue with that because because that probably wasn't the best way to word it. But what I was trying.
Yeah, why you gotta out us like that? God damn.
Nah. I'm exposing you guys now.
We said what?
But what I was trying to say with that is, it seems like a lot of AniTube, a lot of smaller content creators right now are inspired by other AniTuber content creators, right? And they don't look at YouTube as a platform as a whole. I would say that right now, to be very blunt about it, if you are still making purely analytical and editorial anime content on YouTube in 2021, you will find it very, very hard to grow. And the reason for that is anime analytical and editorial content right now on YouTube is it's a trend that has passed. I'm not saying there's no space for it, but that's not where the trend is right now. The trend is right now, if you look to YouTube as a whole, it's with really personality entertainment-based content. It's with more story-based content. And what I mean by story-based content, it's more like documentary style content. You see content, you have to look at the content creators that have grown fast outside of the anime community. If you're looking at what me, Joey, and Connor are doing, you're looking at the wrong place, because we're always looking at what everyone else is doing, right? So if you look at the anime content creators that really grew in 2020, you look at people like Connor, someone who really focused way more on his personality and having anime content that was tangentially related to anime, but was more about him. You look at people like Nux, right, who again was way more reminiscent of, say, the commentary community, which has also grown a lot in YouTube as a whole, right? You need to look at the trends of YouTube as a whole and try to see if there's a way to incorporate that into your own content. I'm not saying you have to completely change your content style, but to give an example is 2020 for AniTube was fucking hard. And I say this from my own experience. It was really, really hard to get views on anime content in 2020. Why was that? It's because there wasn't many hot anime to talk about in 2020. And what it made me realize is that analytical content is so how well that content does is so closely related to how well anime is doing, right? And because 2020 as a whole was just not a hot year for anime in general, it was not a hot year for AniTube in general. And the people who really grew well and sustained themselves in that year were people who didn't focus solely on anime content and just being making when I say anime content, I mean I'm going to talk about X show or Y show, or making analytical content about that. And that's why in 2020 I really tried to experiment with my content. I made a gacha game video, and I made a VTuber video, and I made that in a different style to how I would have made that video 3-4 years ago, because I included way more of my face, and I framed it in a way where it was more my journey and my experiences with these parts of the anime culture, rather than being just talking about it like it was a piece of media. And I feel like that's the way that YouTube is changing right now. And if you want to grow, you need to look at YouTube as a whole and not just what other AniTubers are doing. And you need to look at the trend of this platform as a whole and see if there's a way to incorporate that to your own content. And that's the best advice I can give to anyone looking to grow. Because I said this before in the Trash Taste podcast, where I look at myself and I look at my own content, and if I'm making the same content that I made a year ago, like exactly the same, then to me, I have failed. And that's not to say that every new experiment was a success. You know, right now I can see what failures and what successes have come of my AI video, but that was me trying to do something new. That was me looking at, you know, that video was me being inspired by so many other content creators. It's got a bit of Michael Reeves, Nakey Jakey, Brian David Gilbert, and Connor himself, and Connor and Joey themselves. You know, it's me trying to incorporate content creators that I respect outside of anime YouTube and trying to see if I can put my own spin on it. And I feel like that should be the mentality that you have if you want to take this platform seriously.
And you heard it straight from the man. I love that you're dropping this knowledge, but it's not a but to anything you said. It's great.
Yeah.
So, but I have to ask this question for my fellow AniTube compatriots, if I can call them AniTube. I don't know what to call them anymore. Guys that do anime analytical videos that aren't covers. There you go, those guys. Because I've been hearing this since the small AniTuber Trash Taste segment, which is, what about someone like a smaller AniTuber that got big by doubling down on or doing a specific type of analytical content? They were specifically referring to hiding in public, who was like, I think 150K, I don't really know, something like that. Is that like more of an exception, or does that fall into kind of what you're saying, which is it's analytical content, but with a twist? You know, it's more personal. It's more about this.
I mean, you need to find a way to twist it in a way that gels with the current YouTube environment. You need to find a way to frame your content in a way that does gel with what audiences are looking for now. You know, and that's basically what I was talking about. And I look at someone like Hiding in Public, and I think he's doing a great job right now. But I said that there's a huge gap between 1 million and 100,000, and that's because there is going to be someone that can find that space. Right now, I think it is Hiding in Public and Scamboli who are occupying that space. But there is always going to be an exception to the rule, right? But you don't want to aim to be the exception to the rule, right? Because that just means the odds are against you. And, you know, there's an argument to be made about survivorship bias. And, you know, I'm only talking about this because I have succeeded, right? And, you know, the valid argument. And what I would say to that is that I've been doing anime YouTube for 13 years, maybe 14. No, 13 years now. I was like, I think the 5th AniTuber to do this. And, you know, at the time, I was able to grow my channel to be one of the most popular anime YouTubers of that time. And then I left for a few years. And normally that's a death sentence to any YouTubers who leave YouTube for like years and years. And I came back and I was able to grow my channel again to a point where it is one of the most popular. So I understand why people may be skeptical, because, you know, it is survivorship bias, but I would like to think that I do have enough of a core understanding of YouTube as a platform that it can be applied, not necessarily meaning everyone who uses this advice will be successful, but it can increase your odds. And that's what I'm saying. If you take my advice and apply it to your content, it can increase your odds of growing yourself on this platform.
And if you want a more in-depth documentary about Giguk's absence from the YouTube space for that time, you can watch a really good video when...
What a way to show yourself, man.
That marketing, though.
When, what was it called again? God damn it. Oh, there you go. End of Anime Zone. Yeah, or the Anime Zone has not ended or something. Giguk cameos in it at the end. There you go. Watch it. Yeah.
And I think it's I think that's a lot of that's really good advice. And I think you know, I think I know this, but just for the people who I think might have missed it, this is like your advice for people who want YouTube to be their career. You're not telling people who you know, they just do it for fun, this is their hobby, you know, that's kind of like fair game. But this is your hard-earned advice on how to thrive within the current system.
Yeah, I mean, and I say this as a response to, you know, what we said in that podcast, is that we feel like there's a lot of people who maybe look down on us to be like, yo, these guys don't deserve to be the top anitubers because maybe they see it as like we don't maybe respect or understand the medium as deeply as other content creators, right? And now what I will say is I don't come into it wanting let me rephrase that. I come into YouTube to make entertaining content, and I come into YouTube to make content that I'm proud of, right? And my passion is in anime, and I can't always make content in a style that gels with everyone. I just try to focus on what I find entertaining. So if you think that other people deserve to have more eyes on them and they deserve to have a bigger audience, then I'm telling you right now, this is what you need to do, because this goes beyond having people who deserve to have a bigger audience. And I'm telling you that this is just how the YouTube environment works, because I feel like some people want to view YouTube as an academic platform. And, I'm not saying there's not a space for it, but YouTube is an awful platform for academic content because it's an algorithm that rewards increasingly sensationalized content. It's an algorithm that gives more eyes on the people who have the strongest takes on either side. It's not necessarily the most well-informed, well-produced content. It's the most extreme content. That's what YouTube rewards. And that's why I say it's an awful platform for academic content, because that's not the kind of platform that you need for academic content, right? You're always going to have less eyes than the guy with the stupid take, or or something like that, or the guy who titles their videos or makes more extreme thumbnails. That's the unfortunate truth of it, and that's YouTube as a platform.
I have to ask you this as a content creator, that has survived, and you do what it takes to be successful on the platform and to tailor your content to be marketable. But at what point do you draw the line? At what point, at what point would it be selling out for you, or like that you're doing something now that it feeds into exactly what the YouTube algorithm wants, but it's not you. It's not what you want to do.
My line, and I try to navigate this line the best, as we've talked about on this podcast. My line is to try and not do anything that's harmful. If it's something that is actively harming creators and stuff like that in the industry, and I can see that it's doing an active harm to it, then that's where I draw the line. And if, like I said, I'm always open to criticism. I've never tried to shield myself from criticism. I always try to make the best content I can. And so that is where I draw the line.
All right.